Okay, well, not long back, I did the zoo, which is over there, and from the zoo at one point, towards the end of the film, we looked out over the other side of the river and saw this building here, done in a sort of Stalin wedding cake style, like the 7 or so buildings in Moscow, including the Lomonosov University and Hotel Leningrad that you've seen as well on this channel. In this case, this old relic of communism is the Crown Plaza Hotel. Very nice too on the inside. I've just been at the British Czech Chamber of Commerce's annual general meeting, and it was held in that lovely building. Now, earlier today I went to the, as you know, I went to the German one and tried to walk back, but got caught in the rain, so I didn't finish it. So I only actually walked about, well, 3 kilometres, let's say. I walked for 45 minutes and then the rain got too much for me. So what could you say, 45 minutes, probably about 3 kilometres. So that's not much of a walk. Right now it's 8:30, still nice and light because it's May the 27th, day after my birthday. And so I get the chance to do a little bit more walking. It's interesting, little boxes. This area is called Podbaba, which is means underneath a lady. And somebody's accused me of being the CIA. There we are. They must have never been out in public before. So this one's called, the main road up is actually that one that's got the tram line on it, but this is more, well, the diagonal goes more in the direction of my flat. There'll be other bridges there to take, so I've decided to try to follow this one and to carry on as much as possible in this direction, because if I took that one, it would get back onto the one that I already did earlier today. And it's boring to do the same thing twice in one day. I don't mind doing the same thing twice in a couple of weeks or something, but to do exactly the same walk twice in a single day is, I think, possibly tedious, especially on the same film. So I have no idea, that I've never come up or down here before, so it could be anything. There could be any delights like that door there with the metal pipes on the wood. Or Johnny Service. This portable toilet is called Johnny Service. That's interesting in itself, isn't it? And mixed waste is called Śmieszny odpad, which to either Russian or Polish ears sounds like humorous waste. There's not an awful lot of humour about it. They obviously are making some attempt to do sorting of waste here, but I heard that along comes the waste bin and puts it all in one, or the waste truck and puts it all in one place anyway. So a lot of it is just there to bug people, seems to me. I simply can't believe that people do an awful lot of real recycling in the way that it's done in Germany, or, well, pretty much only Germany. It's the only place I've seen it being done properly, but then of course it's policed by the Duale System Deutschland and their dreaded Siklos audits, which I have a small experience with. Maybe not even that small, but this is not necessarily the place to go touting for work in waste management companies as somebody that can get your business ready for a Siklos audit, or whatever today's equivalent of that would be, because these things change every few years. It might be completely different now anyway, but nevertheless, the waste management system, or the waste management sector is not a pleasant sector to work in, but somebody has to do it. So it looks like a school here. So it doesn't look like the sort of location where I could just film something all that interesting. It's just a normal residential area, quite a good place, I should imagine, to hire a flat. Although I'm not hiring one here, I'm hiring one more centrally. But it wouldn't be too bad for the airport. And you know, maybe later on, if I get tired of being in the centre, I might swap out to something more like this. Have a bit more space. Mind you, I don't need it. I'm just quite happy where I am, really. So it's a balmy evening after the downpour earlier that I got caught in. I had to go This says Děkujeme, že vodíte psy na vodítku. Thank you for keeping dogs on a leash, they say. Well, I feel like I've been thanked for nothing because I don't own a dog. I feel guilty now. It's a little bit like the moment in public transport where they say please remember to take all your personal belongings off the train. And I think to myself, you're telling me to take all my personal belongings off the train? If I'd brought all my personal belongings onto this train, I'll tell you they wouldn't have fit in the carriage. I've got some pretty hefty furniture, and especially the garden furniture. How are you going to get that in here? Couldn't carry it on. So them telling me to take all my personal belongings off the train, I mean, they must think I'm some kind of bag lady, or male equivalent of bag lady, that I can actually fit all my belongings into one of their boxy carriages. Strangely enough, that's a kind of recurring dream that I get. Being on a train with an uncontrollable amount of baggage and having to try and keep an eye on it, as well as keep an eye on the way the journey's going, and not miss when I've got to get off one and get on another, and how am I going to do it with all these bags? How am I going to get them all off? And invariably there are people around that might want to nick a bit of it, or I'm kind of feeling a bit woozy, as one does when one's dreaming, and I'm not sure where I left bits of it, and had I forgotten this bit or that bit. Everything's really surreal sometimes when I'm dreaming, but I'm often on transport, that's for sure. Another dream that I get quite a lot is to be able to walk or run really fast and really have a joy of it, which of course when you're my weight is a tall order, but that's one of the things which maybe I can achieve. Having started on my birthday, which is yesterday, a diet, all it seems to me is that I've had opportunities to eat with these AGMs today all day long. One thing after another. Even in the office when I went in, I was confronted by bits of... Do you mind? It wasn't exactly right, was it? You just covered me in dirt, you nasty thing. Maybe I should grab hold of him, put him on a leash, claim him as mine, and then I'd be able to go back to that park and not feel guilty anymore. If you're wondering why I'm huffing and puffing, the first reason is I'm a fat bastard. The second is that there's a little bit of a gradient on here, not a very big one. It's only about 1 in 25, I suppose. It's enough, it goes up to about 1 in 20 there. But it's enough to get me a little bit... I suppose if I... Isn't this an elderberry? Does it smell of elderberries? I have to try. Does it smell of elderberries? Oh yes, it is a very... I can get, you know, if you put that in lemonade, that head of flowers there, you get a lovely elderberry or elderflower tasting lemonade. It's a nice flavour actually, not a nice fragrance. What do you call it? Underrated. You don't get much made of elderberries in commercial products. But it's a nice thing, and it's very traditional. Elderberries have been around for a long, long time. That's why they're elder than most things. Nothing to do with Mormonism. If a Mormon elder comes around your house and says, "Hello, my name is Elder John Fitzdinger III," and you can say, "If you're an elder, where are your elderberries? And more to the point, why don't you smell of elderberries?" Because you can always tell an elderberry by its smell. And if you go eating berries that don't taste the way you expect them to, well, that could be dangerous. Some berries are highly toxic. Oh, see. So this is Roosevelt Street. That's interesting. Oh, just changed to green just at the right moment. This is Roosevelt Street. That's how much time it gives you. It never gives you enough time to cross the road here. That's the criticism that I have. If you're the mayor of Prague, or one of the local mayors of Prague, if you're the mayor of Prague 6, which is the part of Prague that I'm in, and you're watching this, then may I suggest that you increase the time available for pedestrians to cross the road. I mean, other than the fact that I'm a fat bastard, as mentioned previously, I'm relatively able-bodied. I don't go fast, but I can go quite far. So what about the people who are not able-bodied? How do they ever even cross the road in this country? But you don't see them, do you? You don't see Czechs walking around. You know, it's 9:15. You know, you can imagine Czechs probably think I'm sick, walking around at 9:15. Or I could be watching TV, like any healthy person would be. Here's Potrefená husa, the shot goose. That's a chain of goose restaurants. So, already I've managed to get up to 14. And of course, because it's HD, I can't go too far. If I go to 20 minutes on HD, that means I'm stuck to do any more, because even in the course of a night I won't get that thing uploaded. Terońska. Or I won't get it coded up into proper HDR, and I still have the option, you know, I have the option of, you know, I can render this into my final film that I send up to YouTube, I can render this in something less than HD. I can render this at 1400 kilobytes per second, which gives you a pretty good flash, but not quite HD. I think that gives you the medium level. It still looks reasonably good on a full screen when it's rendered at that level, but for the HD you have to, the real fully fledged HD that's going to look good on a big TV as well, this camera and on this setting, that will handle it. But I have to make an amazingly big file which takes all night to render for 20 minutes and all day to post up to YouTube, and probably it takes more than one attempt. So this seems to be a kind of public building there with the Czech flag up. This I have seen. I've gone past there on the taxi quite a bit. I think there's a Japanese restaurant here called Sakura, which is a cherry, isn't it? You that know Japanese watching. Sakura, Sakuranbo. Is something to do with cherries, is it not? Anyway, there it is, Sakura restaurant. I'm trying to eat small portions, so I have eaten frequently today, but on each case I've just tried to follow that doctrine of eating the smaller portions and hoping that that will be enough to kill the hunger, and it is. I'm not tempted to go over there and order sushi. Mind you, as I've said on here before, if I'm going to order sushi, I'll do that in Poland. I haven't seen any decent sushi at decent prices in Prague yet, although I'm always on the open-minded state that I can happily look in more places than aeroplane looks as though it's about to land in Róžany. No, it hasn't. That's Róžany in that direction, isn't it? No, Róžany is in that direction. So it's presumably taken off, gone round in a loop, and then it's heading off in that direction. South. Is that south or north? Hang on. I get myself completely confused. I'm in the north going south, so that thing is heading north. That's right. That's heading towards Berlin. There's an interesting website, which I'll mention before I turn this off, called radarvirtuel.com. It doesn't work too well on Windows Explorer, but it works fairly well on Firefox. It tends to hang up if you put it on an Explorer. Here we go. So this is called the Street of the Czech Army. Yeah, see, already it's going red on me. Thankfully it doesn't immediately give the cars the right to go though, so it's not too bad. So I don't know whether this is the correct approach to walk down here now, but rather than straight up there, but I will for a while because it's an interesting broad street that I come down quite a bit on the old taxi. There you see, there's the AE, the Airport Express going down here. It regularly chooses this route. It varies the route between Hlavní nádraží, the main station, and Davická. So I'm back in the same place, the ulica Československé armády, which is the Czechoslovakian army, which of course doesn't exist anymore, but it did for a while. There's a nice children's shoe shop with a kirin, which is Japanese for giraffe. That's a kokkirin, a baby giraffe. This is the size of the head. I was just reading in Dawkins about him going on about this giraffe's nerve that goes from the brain right the way down to near the heart and then back up again, proving that it evolved from a fish. Well, I mean, it's kind of like leap of logic, isn't it? Just because there's something in the giraffe that looks as though it can be easily explained by being something which used to serve the gills, yeah, and is cognate with something in a fish or a shark, which is performing that function of serving the gills. But therefore this archer, if you want to know what Dawkins says, then read his Greatest Show on Earth, that he seems to think that he's got all of these proofs against creationism, as though God... Well, actually it's a reasonable argument against some of the arguments advanced by Christians. But then again, some of the arguments advanced by Christians against evolution are fairly fallacious. I'm sorry to tell you that some of them are, and I'm telling you that as a firmly believing creationist. But trying to get into science and twist science backwards and forwards is not a very good area to be debating on. Unless it's really to prove that science could be interpreted in more than one way, and that what they're doing is interpreting science always in the way which pleases them, sometimes even at the cost of circular definitions and circular logic, and at the end of the day to advance a philosophical argument, which is perfectly sound philosophical reasoning. It's even backed up by what Russell says, and Russell's a champion of atheism, but he basically says that philosophy is the area which bridges the ground between science and religion. This is very loud in the background. I don't know if you're even hearing me properly. I think we're getting next to the Russian embassy over there. I think those are the Russian embassy buildings on the left-hand side. So he's going on about, Russell's going on about the fact that philosophy is what, you know, you have to look at the philosophical realm to get an answer to questions as to what truth is, because on the one hand you've got religion, on the other hand you've got science, and philosophically speaking it's not necessarily the case that empiricism, which is just one brand of philosophy, is going to give you the right answer always to the higher questions. All of this comes back down to the idea that God is perfectly at liberty to have created the giraffe's neck, containing things which would invite people, should they wish to do so, to find another reason to reject the idea of a creator. Creation is full of opportunities to deny its author. Nice grape leaves here, all over this. I don't think they would survive like that in Warsaw. The winters are too cold. So creation is full of opportunities to deny the creator. That's something which, if you accept creationism at all, which I do, if you don't admit that creation is full of opportunities for the person wishing to deny the creator to do so, and to encourage others likewise, then you're probably one of those creationists making rather fallacious arguments. And may as well be honest about the fact that despite everything that is in the armament of, or the arsenal of the atheist evolutionist, it is not, still not objectively proven that life evolved from non-life without a creator, and that the earth came into being without a creation. There's still too many unanswered questions. They can piece together, as Dawkins has done, a kind of body of argument, body of rhetorical argument, saying that this looks like this looks like this, therefore we think it evolved. And I say that creation has been made in such a way that if you want to think it evolved, you'll find enough reasons to believe it evolved. And if you want to believe it didn't evolve, you'll find enough reasons to believe it didn't evolve. And therefore, the Creator has, for reasons of his own, left it down to what you believe. Isn't that lovely? They're sunflowers, they're helianthus, aren't they, of a certain kind. Not the same sunflowers that you get the seeds from, but another kind. Beautiful. So, see, around the corner you always get a surprise. There's a lilac just coming out of flower. It would have been in flower before. Still the leaves look good. Big hearts, big green hearts. And another one of these interesting Czech clocks that I've commented on before. Черемушка is what this is in Russian. I don't know what it is in English. Bird cherry, is it? I don't know, not sure. Now that I've got the level called VGA, which is not HD, switched on, I've got the opportunity to take things more easy. I can make a longer film, talk at leisure, walk at leisure, and just keep the thing on for, you know, more than 20 minutes and make a single film with a lower level. I did one recently where I was walking for 1.5 hours and I just simply left the thing on through the whole walk, and that's good because then I get the impression that I'm kind of walking with you guys, my loyal viewers, which is nice. I get the impression that I'm kind of walking along in your company. Everybody around, not that there is anybody around, could think I was a lunatic talking to myself. I think a couple of people did think so. But yes, that seems to be. I'm not sure which flag it is, or which of the. I'm not even sure I should be filming that actually, but never mind. Interesting pattern on the wall where there used to be some creeper there. The point at issue is I'm actually a little bit uncertain which way to take at this crossroads. There seems to be something that looks like a Russian flag up there, and what seems to be an EU flag next to it, which is strange, because I don't know what that would be. Oh, the Slovenian Republic. So it's not actually a Russian flag, it's just that the same colours are there in the same order, but then I can't see the pattern on it, which is the Slovak. So it's the Slovak embassy. Okay, so I don't know which way to go, but let's assume that's interesting. Who's that person? Another. I'm going to see a, what's his name? Strelbend? So if I'm not careful, I get myself run over here. Carol. Yeah, Carol, which is Charles. So his name is Carol. Bendel, Carol Bendel. And he's got various characters around the bottom and his bust at the top. I don't know who Carol Bendel is, but it's a fairly good bet that if his statue at the top of a street, that the name of the street is something to do with Bendel. Bendelovar or something like that, bend over. And it isn't, of course. It would be an exception. This is Podkastani going out, which means under the chestnut trees. And this is now Zatorce, which I'm not sure what that means because I didn't get onto Zeds yet. But the region is called Bubenec, or Prague 6, as I mentioned in the other film which I did a few moments ago, which will be separate on YouTube. And so what I intend to do now is try and work out from my telephone which way to go. So here we are, zoom in, and it says, this is Selskov on a bit, Nazatorce. It's funny, I was actually resting on it. Nazatorce, that's too far in. Yes. Well, it looks to me from this as though I ought to take that Pelfion street up there and then carry on in a straight line. That seems to me to be a better strategy. This doesn't look to be a very good strategy, though I'm doing it now. So I need to go that way back where I was going to go and then keep on going in that direction. I was a little bit unsure, but thankfully, because of the wonders of GPS, it doesn't show me my position because it's very weak, but at least it's got a map in it which I can refer to. And as long as they've got the street names, so back along by the Slovakian embassy, you can see why I thought it was a Russian flag, yeah? Because it's the same colours. Slightly different order, mind you, isn't it? Or is it? You know, I always get this problem with flags that have got a tricolour on, working out which one's first, second and third. But I just couldn't figure out why they'd put that next to the EU flag, unless it was a sort of place for Russian EU dialogue. But of course Slovakia makes perfect sense. Slovakia, of course, being a member of the family, as I laughingly call it. And there's the lovely chestnut tree that's Podkastani, in blossom at the moment. Not a blossom that you particularly can smell, or at least I can't anyway. So I assume most people can't. I tend to have a fairly, they say, sensitive nose. I used to think of myself as a kind of hedgehog, as I do come from Hertfordshire, and they talk about Hertfordshire hedgehogs, and I can be a bit of a prickly customer. But since I've been in the Czech Republic, I've started thinking of myself as a slightly different animal. You see, sometimes the Czechs like to use Japanese style abbreviations of their names. So let's imagine that you've got somebody whose name is Philip and his surname is Novak. Instead of calling himself FN, like you'd get initialized in most of the Anglo-Saxon tradition, you find him writing Fino, F-I, big F little I, and then big N little O. A little bit like good old katakana and hiragana, except that obviously Fi doesn't exist in hiragana. It exists in katakana, but you have to write around it a little bit. it's he. And then you'd have to do a foo followed by an e in katakana to get fee, but never mind. That's all fooey. Let's consider this then. On the map it says come up this way and go forward, but in reality it's not that easy, because there's this fence here. Like I said earlier, this town is not an easy town to walk through. That's irritating, that is. I don't fancy just walking down the railway track. That could be a little bit risky. That wasn't on my map, was it? Well, that is what you might call a slight annoyance. This has all been tunnelled, of course. It turned into the Blanca, is it, tunnel? That's very annoying. Because, you know, you'd think that they'd give pedestrians some kind of way of getting around this, but there isn't anything. There's just a whacking great big tunnel there in the middle that they're digging. And no way across. So I will have to go that way after all. Okay. The battery is not going to give me more than an hour, I don't think. And I've already done a couple of 20-minuters, so I think it's going to give me another, well, that's 18 again. This is going to give me, I think, another 10 minutes max. But it's a nice chat, isn't it? You've got your coffee. Here we go. Look at that one. What an azalea, eh? My wife's been asking me for an azalea. Last time I got one, it got potted into the wrong mix, so we promptly lost it. But hopefully we can try again and get one to grow for us. There's another one. Well, they obviously know what they're doing with these. Where's the best way to see through this? There we are. They know what they're doing, don't they, with those azaleas? That building's covered in a polythene sheet. Strange. Now I'm just starting to get, I mean, earlier on I walked for 45 minutes on the way back from the one this morning, and then I walked a little bit in between places, and then now I've walked another 40 minutes, so I suppose you can call that 1 hour and a half, and I suppose you can call that, I mean, how long have we been talking, including the film before? I mean, that's got to have been another 3 kilometres, hasn't it? I mean, you've been keeping tabs, haven't you, ladies and gentlemen? So I think I've done 6 kilometres so far today. There's got to be some calories in that. I was looking at my face in the bathroom mirror just before I left this evening. I thought I'd already lost a little bit around the gills here. That's where it comes off first. Going back to Dawkins there for a minute. Oh, look at this. Whoa! Look at that ivy all over that. That's something, isn't it? I just think some people get a nice dark night's sleep in there. But what I'm crossing the road for, and what would that be? The French embassy? Surely not. The Dutch one? Yes, Dutch. The Dutch. There we go. They're into azaleas in a big way, aren't they, as well? This one's not flowering, but this one is. Oh. My hand went through the railway quite a long way, so I was actually on Dutch territory to a job there in Schengen. In fact, it would be impossible for the Dutch not to be in Schengen, because Schengen was in Holland in the first place. If the Dutch wanted out of Schengen, they'd have to rename it. Right now they're talking about making the Greeks leave Europe. And how can you talk about Greece leaving Europe? That is the origin of Europe. Europe initially referred to the area that was covered by Greece. When they talk in the Bible and the New Testament about apostles going into Europe, they're talking about really the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire, the classical empire. And the term Europe comes from the Greek language. So the term the euro also originates in the Greek language. Is this Korean? I'll get myself into trouble here if it's North Korea. It is. Like I told you earlier, I don't know Korean, but it's a nice alphabet. I'd like to know it, and probably I'll spend the time needed. And I love the way they always take every opportunity they can get to publicise Coca-Cola, or Pepsi-Cola rather. So this is Korea. I hope it's South Korea, because I only feel safe with South Korea. They're our chums. The North Koreans, that's a different kettle of fish. They go around sinking people's boats. I certainly don't want any North Koreans around me at the moment. No way. They need to be brought to heel, if you ask me. And I'm not very happy that China keeps sitting on the fence on that matter. China takes a lot of liberties. So this is a footpath to Latensky and Amnesty. So if that's a footpath that's actually sign posted, then hopefully I can follow the footpath and go somewhere without getting caught on that thing. Well, here's a problem, isn't it? Because we're back to this thing again. But this time, will I be able to get across it or not? Oh, that's bright orange. The future, it must be. It's both bright and it's orange. So will I be able to cross here? This is the question. Because the feet, after those 6 kilometres, they are starting to get a little bit. So I see, there's the Generali Stadium, which is generally, really, I'm getting honked at. There's no road here, so obviously this is just for the pedestrians to tell them that get out of the way of the train. Well, are you going to close it? Really? No, I got my head chopped off standing right next to it. Wonder which way it's going to come from. Pozor, vlak. You see, if I'd have been walking along there, I'd have got myself on the wrong side of a train. Are they just doing this? Are they sitting in that house there doing this just to kind of like confuse me? Because there's no train here. Is there somebody sitting up there in that house putting the train thing down when somebody walks along here and seeing how they react and filming me? Maybe they put me up on YouTube or something. Is that what's going on here? I don't know. Where's the train, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, there is one. Oh, it goes up fast. I'm glad I got out of the way of it. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Have my head off again. That's quite interesting, wasn't it? Like I say, turn the camera on and something interesting will start to happen. Huge, great big leaves. My grandfather's house, he had these great big leaves and there was always snails under them. Huge, great big things. Looked like edible snails, but they weren't that species. It's funny, our place looks almost completely disused, but there's all these voices behind. Well, I could get a bit muddy on this. I'll pick my way through it a bit carefully. This is the tram line that you used to be able to use. It looks quite walkable over there, so I think I'll take that one. I don't fancy... I've done that one up there before. I don't really fancy it. I'll try this one instead. This is a little bit bare. This is not too interesting. Also, I don't have my head full of things to say, which I probably will return if I just switch this off for a moment. So I'll turn it off and turn it back on again in order to save the battery if anything enters my head or if there's anything worth seeing. You can see that I'm just going to hold it up so you can see the depth of the excavation that's going on down there. It's quite an impressive bit of digging. I don't know what else is being built there, but oh, tram number 1 is available if I wanted to give up now, but let's take it a little bit further, see how it goes. See how it goes. I don't know where tram number 1 goes anyway. Maybe completely not the right one for me. But that direction over there, that's where I need to go. It's still light, isn't it, really? It's not as light to the eye as it is on the camera. Oh, that's this argument, that's this thing about, oh, Nazdar. That's what the the Czechoslovak loyalists used to say in the time of the Austrian Empire, when the people that wanted to cede Czechoslovakian independence from the Austrian Empire used to greet each other with Nazdar. But it's still a sort of ongoing, sporty kind of way of addressing people. It's similar to, of course, to Na Zdarovye, which is what a Russian might say before throwing his glass into the fire, having drained it, of course, first. So, the Generali Arena. It'd probably be a better idea just to go right down there if I could, but you know, can I? That's the question. Oh, the number 26 has come up this way. The one that goes to Divoka Sharka. That goes right by my flat. So if I wanted to give up, that would be a way of giving up. But maybe I should push on just a little bit more. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? See how it goes. That's been nearly an hour, which is nothing, isn't it? Even given the 45-minute one earlier. That's nothing compared to what I used to do. That's nothing. Okay, I'll switch it back on again later. So I kept it on. I kept going on, rather. I kept on. And the cars go down there, but you can't go down there as a pedestrian. So I'm going to try and find a way to get over this end as a pedestrian, go down. I don't know how to do that. The building that I'm walking next to is the Ministry of the Interior. I am not turning the camera on it for the simple reason that there's a guard there looking very forbidding at me, and I don't really particularly want to provoke him. So I'm just, and I could just briefly go like that, yeah, but nobody saw that, I hope. So I just can't help it. Okay. Don't know what the thing in front is. I mean, for I know, it could be all top secret around here, but it's supposed to be a free country, supposed to be the European Union. We're all supposed to be on the same side. No Russians could possibly be watching this on YouTube, could they? Or Islamic terrorists, they would never appear on YouTube, would they? So, where's the harm? So this seems to be pretty much blocking the whole path, this big building here, and I'm going to find a way around it to get down to the scarp and then scarper back home. It's a very big, and actually the funny thing is I can see through the camera at the moment more clearly than I can see with the human eye, which is something funny. But the camera actually is giving it back to me more clearly. It's adding some light to the whole thing. I'm getting a sharper picture, different picture. Bits of it are sharper, bits of it are not so sharp. It's seeing the thing differently at the moment to the way the human eye is seeing it. Oh, I'm getting texted. Right. Well, I'll turn this off then and see if see what they want to tell me, and then maybe turn it back on again in a minute. So I actually discovered the way around the building was to the left of that building from the other side, therefore from the right, because I'm behind it now. So, and here it seems to show, well, too many arrows really, but it seems to it doesn't show me where you are. Oh, this is where you are. So these are the summer gardens of Letensky Osady, which is the whole area here with the Letensky Palace in the middle. And this shows me being here. That's the bridge I need to get to. So that means effectively, I think the steps, a guy told me, I spoke to one guy walking his wolf, really wolf, out. Another phone call. I have to go through here now, which is straight on, and then veer what must be veer left. That will be left from here to get downstairs to the bridge. And then on this side, that's where Revolutionary is, and not far from there. So I think I've got about half an hour, and I will have a sense of satisfaction. Actually, it's quite painful already, but I'll have a sense of satisfaction as well as the chance to make back a bit. That's an interesting, not even sure in this light what it is, but it's interesting, the pattern on that. I don't think it's showing up on the camera. There's an interesting tiled pattern on it. So I shall call it a day. I have to, oh no, I won't call it a day. Look at this coming up. I wonder how that will look. It's really fairy tale-y from here. And that's a great view. Say what you like, that is a great view. Got to catch the steps right though, where the staircase is that leads down to the thing. But I won't turn it off just yet because I want to give you this, as much of this view, which is really quite interesting. That looks like it. That looks like the diagonal path I've got to take down to the bridge, if I'm not much mistaken. And I'll have a look down there as well, because that's also going that way. Now that one's like a rocket, that black dog. That's interesting, isn't it? That's not really a diagonal path. I'm going to try this way instead. Well, it's all laid out like on the hand now. As they say in German. There's the river, down there below. There's that government building. There's all your various Prague. Let me focus up on it a bit. If I go here, it's probably a little bit better. There's the bridge I need to walk across. And having walked across it, Lolko, where my flat is, it's a little bit further that way behind. I'm probably seeing just a couple of blocks beyond that building there, the big one with the dome on top. That'd be where my flat is. So, what's that? That's 20 minutes walk, isn't it? Max. Unless I'm much mistaken. The hard bit, of course, is going down this, but this must be the way it's all going down. So down is the right way anyway. I can't go down and then if I go down far enough, I will be where I need to be, whatever happens. Short of a ruddy great fence at the bottom that's locked, or a locked gate, but why should it be there? So down I go. And look at that moon over there by the TV chat tower. Can you see that? That's blood red, that moon. Blood red. That's presumably the ash cloud doing that. I don't know if it's blood red on the film, but it's blood red to the eye. There's the albatross down there. Albatross that we've seen before. Come back off it a bit. See the whole panorama. Pity I didn't get this about half an hour ago. There would have been more light, but I can do that another time. Ooh, it's actually quite tough walking down as well as walking up. It's tough on the toes because it pushed into the front of the shoes. The staircase was definitely the easier of the two options. Nice lilac that's already out of flower. Just the leaf now. Still the insects haven't had time to get their little nippers into it. There's a cloud going across the moon. Another camera might do better justice to this, but I can't complain about my HD Vado. It's just so versatile, I can have it with me the whole time. So now I've got steps instead of just this. Some kind of firework display seems to be going on, judging by the sounds, but I can't see it. It seems silly to have a big fireworks display like that and not have it in the middle of Prague, which is here. I don't know if you can hear it there in the background. I'm getting the flashing battery, so this is about the end of it. But it was nice to see this together, wasn't it? This one won't go up in HD anyway, so how much of it will be seen is anybody's guess. That cloud's gone straight across that moon now. It's funny, the human eye can focus right up onto something like that, make it almost the focus of the entire brain, so that almost nothing around it is seen but the moon. Whereas here on this camera, it's only ever going to be a tiny part of the sky. There's the 26 we saw earlier. It has to go around a great big loop to get here. You can't put a tram down a steep thing like this. And there's the tunnel, mouth of the tunnel that I showed you earlier, the other end of it. This is going to turn off in a minute through lack of battery. I'll just let it go, do its natural thing. So I'll say goodbye now. Thank you for watching, and when it turns off, it turns off. I might cut out with some music, I think, from this point. As long as I remember that I was going to put music here. It probably won't be 8 weeks until I actually prepare this and send it up for you to watch. Today is the 27th, as I think I mentioned, of May. I'll try to find something maybe Czech to finish with.